in that question. So there are many Nigerians that are ambitious. People want to become president, governors, but there are not many people that are trying to enlighten young people. So there's that gap uh, that clearly shows that nobody cares about it. And so my objective is to fill that gap, to enlighten young people, to explain policies to them. So if somebody's talking about electricity, I want you to understand what it means, what it takes to solve electricity problems in Nigeria. Uh, I want you to understand if you have a future political ambition. I want you to understand how to prepare for that. I want you to understand that it's possible, but it takes a while. I want young people to understand that it's not about talking; it's about coming out to vote on election day. And I tell people that it's not about finding the perfect candidate. You don't want to wait until that perfect candidate emerges before you start voting. Sometimes you just vote for the less evil or for the better candidate. Just to practice that art of consistently voting and hoping that in the next couple of years or decades, the perfect candidate will come on board. As a matter of fact, you're not going to find the perfect candidate. So when young people stay home and say, "Hey, I don't think I like any of these people," no, that's you're not helping the system. You have to you have to play your you have to play your part. Just find a way to still participate, and it starts with voting. So that's why I say our vision is to enlighten, organize, and influence 20 million first-time voters by 2027. And first-time voters are people that have never voted before. So if you've never voted before, I'll say you're the first type of you're the ideal person that I'm trying to talk to. Don't wait until that perfect person emerges. Start practicing the art of voting. Because when politicians realize that people are turning out to vote, you know, then they know that. Can you hear me now? Are you back?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
I decided to just go ahead to answer a question. So I just say, I just try to, so I'm saying that if you wait for what I was saying was that young people should not wait for perfect candidates to emerge before they start voting. The first thing
Okay.
is be ready to vote. Now, if our oppressors observe that more and more people are coming out to vote, then that's the first time to them that we mean business. And then, like I said, if we 2023, we don't know. We may not have ideal candidates. We may still end up having two bad candidates for presidency. Choose the less bad. Vote. 2027, we might have better candidates. Then choose the best candidate. Vote. But if you stay home and say all of them are bad, I'm not going to vote. Our oppressors are happy. They love that. They're not going to work hard to earn your vote because they know you're not going to come out anyway. But when you come out en masse and they see from locations where the students, for example, they see from locations that students are coming out in millions, then these guys are going to work hard. We can push them to work harder next time to earn our votes. And I'm talking about people that don't necessarily need bribe to vote. They just want to vote. If you're in that category where you just want to vote, then for me, that makes it difficult for them to give you money in 2027 to vote. But beyond that, I'm also, in my book, I talked a lot about, I talked a lot about traditional politicians, new breed politicians, the fact that we need to collaborate, But if you don't even learn how these people think, if you are not willing to even, if you just stay on social media and you're not willing to read in depth, then you're going to keep making our oppressors happy. So for
Okay.
me, because I know not many people will be willing to read a 200-page book, my book is a 214-page book. I want to look for venues to provide similar enlightenment to other people. That's why in recent months I've been writing a lot on national newspapers. But I decided to create a forum, liberatingnigeria.com, where more people have a voice. I don't know it all. I want other people to be able to write articles and publish. I want to give opportunities to young people to participate in this discussion, to say what they think, focusing on solutions. I don't like people just talking, just abusing leaders. No, we have to focus on solutions. So I'm trying to give opportunity for young people to to publish, to say what they like, but I also want them to read about solutions. I want them to read our articles. I want them to read about politics, to learn how politics and policies, are determined in Nigeria. And that's my overall objective, to give voice to the voiceless.
Okay. Now, it's quite sad and unfortunate that we have to pick between two bad people to rule us. Now, you said we should pick the best bad. That sounded like an oxymoron to me. So, what are the criteria that determine the best bad candidate when two people are contesting for a particular position?
Exactly. That is one of the reasons why I created liberatingnigeria.com. I want to be able to provide guidance to people. If I'm not running, I don't have plans to run for office. I want to provide guidance to young people. I want to be able to take a risk about sometimes endorsing candidates, but not necessarily directly. But I want to. So if you have two bad candidates, I want to have a forum where young people can come to and say, "Hey, Debo Onifade, what do you think?" I want them to see me as a trusted source of information. I want them to see me as a trusted source of advice. Now, it doesn't mean I know it all, but at least I want to be able to share, and I also want to give opportunities for other people to share. And that means, I have a forum where I can say, okay, these two bad candidates. This is why I think X. I'm going to admit that two X and Y are bad, but this is why I think X is better than Y. And you can look at you can consider my views and make your choice. So, but if we wait for the perfect candidate to emerge, is there any leader in the world that is perfect right now? Is there any country that has a perfect leader? No, not a single leader across the world. None. So if we keep waiting, oh, I'm not going to vote until the perfect candidate emerges, we're just wasting, we're just making our oppressors happy. We're just making them happy that we're not going to turn out to vote. When we start turning out en masse to vote, then they'll start getting scared of us. Then they know that these guys mean business. They know one day we might find a good candidate and we might all vote for that candidate in millions and we can win the election.
Okay, I really want us to dig deep into this particular question. Now, if you are presented with two people, two similarly bad people, uh, do we determine the best bad by the manifesto or the looks of the person or what he has promised to do for us?
So that's why I also want the electorate to understand what policies are. In my book, I spent 4 chapters, 4 or 5 talking about politics. I spent about 8 or 9 talking about policies. Okay? And the reason is that politics is the most important, actually. But policies are also important. So, for example, I spent a chapter talking about electricity. If you read my chapter on electricity, then you have a clear idea of how electricity can be fixed in Nigeria. Then you cannot be easily deceived by these candidates, because when you understand policies, it empowers you to be able to analyze what people are saying, and then you can make a better decision. So I want to make it easier for people to make better decisions. You can look at X and Y and they are bad, but so it's not only about what they say, it's also about their antecedents. And it's also about who is ready to. I'll give you an example. If X is willing to collaborate or share power with good people, then I will pick X ahead of Y. Because X may be as bad as Y. But if X says, I'm willing to share power with some good people, and you have an ironclad agreement on that, then X has a greater potential to do well than Y. Than Y that doesn't even care about you. So it's a difficult decision when you have bad people. And that's why I say I want to be among those who can help young people make those decisions. Some people are confused and they'll just stay at home because of that confusion. And I want to play that role in collaboration. I can't do it alone. But that's the role that I want to play in collaboration with other like minds. I'm not going to run for office, but I want to play that role of guiding, providing guidance to young people who don't know how things work, who are ignorant. And that's why it comes with information. When we're young, we're told information is power. It is really power. Knowledge, information, they are very powerful. And that's what I'm giving people. I want to give knowledge, information to people so I am able to empower them to make good decisions.
Now, there's a saying that you can force a camel to the river, but you can't force it to take the water. Now, youth indeed, we have youth nowadays think, well, politics is not my thing. Even if I vote, my votes do not count. You're ready to educate them. You're ready to inform them. You think they are ready to accept your teachings.
We
You
will keep
think they are.
trying. We will keep trying. A lot of them don't want to. They just don't want to vote. I mean, I'm sorry to say, a lot of young people are arrogant. They think they get it. They think they know a lot. They don't want to listen to older people, and that's part of the problems we have in the younger generation. But we have to keep trying. We have the numbers, millions of young Nigerians who can determine how election results go. But if it's not only about I want to become a president, somebody has to guide them, especially on social media. The younger people, somebody has to make that sacrifice of trying to educate them. We're not going to win all of them, but if we win 10%, 5% of them, and get them out to vote, that's still substantial. And get them to, how many people vote in Nigeria? Last election, maybe less than 30 million people, and out of 200 million people. So if you can get 10 million young, if I can influence 5 million in 2023, and I influence 20 million in 2027, that means I can determine who wins many elections. And I'm not going to do it alone. I want to collaborate with many people to see how we can influence these young people to come out en masse to vote.
Now, in your book, Liberating Nigeria, A Guide to Winning Elections and Reviving Our Country, you mentioned that new breed politicians should collaborate with religious leaders, and even religious leaders should begin to endorse candidates. Now, how do you intend to convince religious leaders to go into, because people would say endorsing a candidate automatically means they are becoming partisan. So how do you intend to convince them to do this, and at the same time project a good image before their followers?
Okay, thank you so much. So now let me give it. I think many of the leaders, let me talk about Christianity. Can I understand that better? Many pastors are scared of making mistakes, of endorsing and the person messing up. And some of them are scared of losing church members. They think that if they endorse, some church members will leave. But I asked people this question. In recent times, Bishop A.Adeboye has come out to say things against the government with regard to COVID, and really said the wrong things, I would say. He had made statements that are false. How many winners people will leave that church? No, they're going to forgive him. They will stay back. That's how church leaders are. You have a Pastor Chris Yakilime that has come out to say a lot of false things in this COVID-19 period. In some cases, he has come out to apologize, but for some, he hasn't. His church members still going to love him. They're going to stand by him. You have Pastor T.B. Joshua, who said COVID-19 is going to end, I think, in March or April. It didn't happen. How many church members are going to leave? People are going to stand by him. That's how Nigerians take their church leaders. Even when they are wrong, people stand by. So I'm wondering, what are they scared of? Why are the leaders scared of endorsing? David Oyedepo endorsed, not let me say endorsed, but kind of supported Atiku in 2019. Does that mean he lost members? I don't think he lost members. And he was vocal about it. He didn't lose members. Tunde Bakare, it was with Buhari in 2011. I don't think he lost many members. So for me, I'm wondering what they are scared of. People can make mistakes. There's nothing to be scared of. If we don't, the new generation, the new breed politicians are not going to succeed if they do not get enough collaboration. And who do you collaborate with first? To me, it's religious leaders. How are you going to beat our oppressors? How are we going to beat our oppressors if we don't enjoy collaboration from religious leaders and from labor, from those other big groups? So, and I put in my book, imagine if Pastor E.A comes out to say today that he's endorsing candidate X. That candidate X has a high chance of winning elections because Pastor Adeboye is highly revered across Nigeria. And and it should not be limited to Christianity. It should be, you have the Sultan of Sokoto, you have the Islamic leaders should endorse candidates because we need that collaboration. There's no reason to be shy about it. In America, people endorse candidates. Religious leaders endorse candidates. Even if the candidate makes errors or messes up, you're not giving that person 100% stamp of character approval. You're just saying, because I want Nigeria to improve, X is better than Y. I suggest you guys should vote for X, period. If X messes up eventually, it's not your fault. So I'm continually saying, pastors, there's no reason for you to be scared. If it turns out to be a mistake, your people will still stand by you. And you're more likely going to affect the society better when you take that risk of endorsing candidates. As long as you endorse not because of selfish or financial gain, but because of what you truly believe in your mind and your heart. If that's the reason, then you have no reason to be scared. That's my view, and I'll continue to say it, that I think until we get to a point where, the problem about endorsement again is that if I read, I put in a book, I wrote an article and I said we need electronic voting to be passed. We need an electoral reform bill to be passed and to include electronic voting. And I said, INEC should lobby Pastor A.Adeboye and Sultan of Sokoto. If these two people come out to say electronic voting must be used in 2023, trust me, the House of Assembly, presidency, they will pass that bill within a few weeks. Because they will fear these two people, Sultan of Sokoto and Pastor A.Adeboye alone. The two people alone can influence maybe 30, 40 million people in the country. So
Okay. Now,
you can start with that. You can start by influencing policies and openly saying this. We have to pass this. We have to allow electronic voting because electronic voting will reduce rigging. So if these guys say that, and during election they say, oh, this is the candidate we support, then even our leaders will be scared of committing wrong because when these guys say this, they will call us out when we mess up, and they'll feel a little bit more accountable.
okay. Now, if you do not consider Bishop David Oyedepo taking pictures with Atiku, seen moving around with him as endorsement, so you're saying that he should come out and literally say, "Well, vote for Atiku Abubakar," more like campaigning for him. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, you can choose whatever style you want to use. You don't, but he did. I mean, he does. I'm saying I didn't want to use that term because I don't think he openly agrees that he endorsed it. So I don't want to cut him. I don't want to say something he didn't openly. But clearly, he had photographs with him. He continued to bash President Buhari. It was clear that he had preference for Atiku, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing to be ashamed of about that. And in the same vein, you had Pastor Adeboye consistently sing with his spiritual son, Vice President Oshibajo. And then you had Jonathan, who went to kneel down, President Goodluck Jonathan, who went to kneel down, and all the newspapers, and Pastor Adeboye, prayed for him, and all the newspapers, carried that as a major news. And to me, that's not an endorsement, but that's like showing that you like this person. But I'm saying beyond that, let's even get to a point where we say, I'm supporting X because I've spoken to X, and X has agreed that he will fix healthcare for all. And you can give reasons. I've spoken to X. X has agreed that he's going to ensure there's free healthcare for everybody within the first 2 years, and I'm ready to hold X accountable. If X wins and he doesn't, I will personally hold him accountable. I will call him out on the pulpit. I will go to him. I would call him out during interviews. I will hold him accountable. So you are letting the people know why you are supporting X. You are giving those reasons, and you are promising people, I'm not God. It doesn't mean I'm going to dictate what, but I will hold him accountable for the good things that he promised to do. That's what I'm talking
Okay.
about.
Wouldn't it put them in a confused situation? What do I mean? When X comes and says, "Our Father in the Lord, Imam, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do," and Y comes to say the same thing, knowing that these religious leaders do not belong to any political.
Okay, so I'm losing you again, but I can see a question from an audience. Hello. So I see a question from an audience saying, Is your suggestion of religious leaders' involvement because of the level of society maturity or a convenience of numbers? Is this an assumption that religious leaders represent all that is good? Okay, so I do not believe that it's a represent that religious leaders represent all that is good. No, I need to be honest with you. It's because of the numbers. It's So I'm trying to answer a question. So whoever is asking that question, believe me, it's because of the numbers. I'm not saying that religious leaders are good, that all of them are good. No, some are great people, and some are just ordinary, regular Nigerians just making money as religious leaders. So, but I don't really care about how good or bad they are. For example, I put in my book that if there was a pastor, I don't want to mention his name, in Abuja, that was rumored that had a lot of rape cases, immorality cases. If that guy can influence 5 million people, if I was going to run politics, I'm ready to go to that guy. I don't care
Wow.
about his cases. As a Christian, I'm disappointed in him. I don't support him in any way. But when it comes to politics, you follow the numbers. So I'm ready to go to that Abuja pastor and
There's
say,
also the number.
yeah, it's numbers. So there's no reason for me to deny that. Politics is a numbers game. So if you have a pastor that can influence 20 million people, you need to go to that pastor and get endorsement from him. It's a numbers game. I'm not saying they are perfect people. No, some of them are great, very great people, very close to God. Some of them are just regular people. So it's a numbers game.
Now, in your book,
Go ahead.
you talked a lot about power blocks and godfathers, and you mentioned that they are very influential people. Godfathers are influential people, and power blocks are also very influential people. What's the difference? Is there a clear difference between them? And is the influential rate different at all?
So power blocks, Labour, for example. Labour in Nigeria can represent a major power block. They're not playing that role well, but I emphasize, I dream about a scenario where Labour will start playing massive power block role. That's a power block. Religion too. Redeem can be a power block. Redeem is so big, or Catholics can be a power block. Religious groups, not groups can be power blocks and say, hey, in America you have evangelicals, they are power blocks. You have Labour, they are power blocks. But you also have, so NURTW, they are power blocks. So you have those power blocks, you need them to win election. So you have some of the candidates who were in Nigeria, they were busy doing these meetings, talking to 200 people, town hall meetings. And like town hall meetings don't work in Nigeria. You have to negotiate with power blocks. Now, godfathers.
Of these people,
Say that again.
like godfathers, power blocks, who the groups that these people belong to.
Yeah, exactly, because they have influence on millions. And then godfathers are like individuals who are also very influential, sometimes as influential as power blocks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the state coming elections now. This is someone who would consider a new big politician, like you described in your book. I mean, Governor Godwin Obaseki. And he's about to lose his chance of getting a second term because he had a fallout with his godfather. What do you have to say about it?
So some people say that. So before I say that, I just saw another question. I'm happy that we're saying questions now. Somebody said the problem in our society is that these religious leaders can be bought, and the bad candidates usually have more money, and they will buy it. That's a very good question. That's what I'm saying. That the reason I mention names, I don't believe Pastor E.A can be bought. That's my personal opinion. That's why I mention names. I don't believe he can be bought. He's just being quiet because he's trying to be careful, and it's okay. But I'm appealing, sir. He needs to say something. He's highly respected by a lot of people, and there's no reason for him to be scared. People will continue to love him no matter what he says. That's me. I don't think he can be bought. That's my view. You understand?
That's how good you think he is.
He said, yeah, I don't think he can be bought. There are many pastors that cannot be bought. Pastor Tunde Bakare cannot be bought. Period. I know Pastor Tunde Bakare very well. He cannot be bought. Doesn't mean they are perfect people. Some people cannot be bought. Plain and simple. But the people, are you saying that Pastor W.F. Kumi can be bought? He cannot be bought. Period. So some people cannot be bought. And I'm saying those people need to take that risk. They need to take that risk and endorse candidates because we need them. The new breed politicians cannot do it by themselves. How do you face these oppressors when you cannot even get the church or mosque behind you? Because these oppressors are so powerful. But when you begin to get the church behind you, then we can begin to match the oppressors, people for people. We may not have the money, but we have the numbers. Now, that's why I said, but not everybody. Some people can be bought. That's true. So it's not that I'm expecting them to be perfect. For those that can be bought, and good luck to them. So that's my answer. Now let's talk about the election. So
Yeah.
in my book, I talked about something that if you have a godfather, if you get opportunity for a godfather, don't hesitate to take it. I'm not one of those people that will say, oh, godfatherism is evil. All over the world, there are people that are powerful and they play the role of godfathers all over the world. They don't use that term. Sometimes it's corporate, sometimes it's individuals, even in America, Britain, everywhere. However, what I say is, when you get to power, you must use power you must prioritize people over godfathers. You must use power to deliver goods to people and help the poor. That has to be higher priority for you than godfather. I'm not saying you do not compensate.
Problems between the candidates and the godfathers.
So,
Because when godfather helps you to
so,
to
so,
get the election, to win the election, and then you get there, you start working against his will.
no,
That's what
I'm not saying you should work against. You must be ready to negotiate. If he wants 1 billion, negotiate. Oh, sir, we'll give you this contract as long as you do it perfectly. I'm not saying you should just forget the guy. No, that's not what I'm saying. You do right, but you can compensate your godfather. But you're not going to give him everything that he wants. Period. He's not going to get everything that he wants. But I'm not saying you should not give him anything. If he wants commissioners, give him a few commissioners. Don't. I'm not. I'm not in the business of telling lies. I said in my book, I want to be straightforward and tell people the truth. You will have to compensate the godfather. But it's true that you will not have to give him all he wants. However, you must put people first. Now, and I'll give you an example. When the last governor of Lagos, Ambode he lost second term. People were saying, "Oh, it's Bola Tinubu," and I've studied it very well. I talked to people, and I realized that he himself did not endear himself to party people. Election politics is politics. Even if you have to say no politely to a godfather, you need to have people behind you. So you can have people that will beg, that kind of negotiate with the godfather. Oh, sir, he's not giving you, but he's doing X, Y, Z. He's not doing ABC, but he's doing. So you need people on your side to be able to negotiate effectively with godfathers. Now we're aware that Babatunde Fashola had problems with his godfather, but when he was able to negotiate successfully to get a second term. So it's not about. I don't think the godfather got everything he wanted. So let's talk about Edo election. I think this governor, I think he will end up losing. I think that there's nothing wrong in falling out with your godfather, but you don't do
okay.
it. You have to do it the right way. I don't support you coming on TV, blasting, saying, I don't generally like combative style. I believe in negotiations. There's no reason to combat and say, I'm going to deal with you. I'll show you I'm the governor. No reason to do that. You can fall out with your godfather, but you can still find amicable ways. No reason to, what happened in Edo State? They didn't even allow the whole, majority of the House Assembly members were not sworn in because the governor did not allow it. There's no reason to do that. It's important. You can fall out. Again, you can fall out with your godfather. But I believe it's better to negotiate, to find amicable ways of falling out. So that the people, you continue to focus on the people and you do your best to the best of your ability to make your godfather happy. That's what I believe. And if you look at, many people in some I lost you again, in some that have held some big positions in Nigeria. Even look at the vice president in Nigeria. The vice president today got the position because he was recommended by Godfather. But he has, and you, I don't know if they're falling out, but he's been able to manage the relationship very well. So, like I said in one of my Rice interviews, in my Rice interview, ultimately, the new breed politicians have to work with third force, a new political party. But until the third force emerges, some good people still need to work with APC and PDP, and some of them will have to ride on godfathers to win elections. And when they win, they have to put people first.